Well, hello, Nancy.
Hi.
How we doing?
Good, good.
Yeah. You
Pretty good,
braved
pretty
through
good.
currently as we're filming this. There's a nor'easter.
I
They
know.
call it that even if it's
I
just
know.
rain.
That's why I'm wearing a winter sweater
Oh
in
yeah,
May
I know.
and
It
my
feels
heat
like
is on at
feels like
home.
March 4th. Like what are we doing out there, you know?
It's okay. That's what makes us maniacs. We can handle it.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about your brother and kind of what came from a really one of the worst situations imaginable,
Yeah,
right?
kind of like a bad movie, like a scary movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
first because I mean, you said we were talking earlier, you said it talked around, I mean, it happened around 2003. Is that when you said?
Right, right.
And so why don't you take us through what happened? Like
Yeah. Yeah, wow. It was February, right? I remember it was a really bad storm. I don't know if work was closed or it was a weekend or what have you, but um I got a strange call. So my dad was living in Jamaica Plain with one of my other brothers because he grew up there.
hmm
And I was living in Millis. And I remember like getting a call from my brother Gary, and he was like, turn on the TV, like Sarah's in court and she killed Stevie. And I was like, what? And I just like blacked out and was like,
So Stevie's your brother. Who's Sarah?
his wife,
Oh,
his
okay.
ex-wife, yeah,
Yeah.
his widow, his now widow. Um,
They were married at the time, though.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, it was a storm, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to get to Jamaica Plain, like I have to get to Dad, and I was like, like what about Mom? Like Mom's at working at a pharmacy in Walmart in Florida. Like what? How is it that the court knows or the TV station knows and Dad didn't know, right? Because it happened in Boston. It happened in, I think it was JP. It was right down the street from where my dad was living. So apparently, like the reporters that kind of like hang out in the courtroom got wind of it and released it before family was
Family.
notified, which is like a big no-no. But anyway, that was like the craziest. So I got a ride to Jamaica Plain, and somebody called my stepfather in Florida, had him go from the house to Walmart to get Mom to get her out to tell her what had happened.
Mhm.
So that was kind of like, and then there's so much like it's been 22 years, so it's a lot to remember. But I do remember Mom flew in, and I don't know if it was the next day, but we like had to go to the police station, meet with the police officers, and then we had to go to the morgue, which I I was like, what? We're going where? Like, this is crazy. And we
Yeah.
needed to. And we all went. I think it was almost all seven of us. And I was just like, I'm not going in. Like,
Yeah.
a bunch, almost everyone went in except myself and
Was
my,
it to
my little brother.
identify him, or was it
Yeah,
just to get last
it could have
viewing?
been both.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. So, and then it was such a weird thing because we had to get permission from his wife, the woman who stabbed him, to get his body to have a service for him. So here we are, like, you know what I mean? Like, that was so crazy. But thank God she released his body to us. And we buried him on February 14th. It was like the biggest snowstorm. I don't even know how we did it. I just remember, like, that was the coldest 2 weeks that I'll
Yeah.
ever remember, like, more than just like literally cold, just like, wow, like,
Mm.
and but we did it, we managed, and what a weird thing to like do it on Valentine's Day, but people came, it was amazing.
So what happened to him? What are the details?
So, and that was like the hardest part too, because after the burial, we would meet with the police quite a bit because we were all about at that point, like justice for Stevie, like, but we had to sit with the homicide detectives in Boston. It was very formal. They didn't even want to tell us what happened, and they said, you don't want to know. We don't make us tell you what happened. And my mother was like, I just have to know. Like, I have to know what happened to my son. Like, was it quick or did he suffer? And I just remember them saying, like, he was stabbed. So they were kind of like giving us bits of information to try to protect us. But eventually we found it was like 140 stab wounds. And it was the neighbor upstairs that heard him calling, Sarah, Sarah, stop stabbing me. It's me, it's Stevie. But by the time the neighbor got down from the apartment above, it was pretty much over at that point. Police were there. He called the police and they came. So
Is it
yeah,
like a kitchen knife or something?
I don't know. I mean, they had the knife at the trial. I think it was pretty serrated. I remember it being big, but like at the trial, I was pretty much like,
Yeah.
I was trying not to see a lot of things. We waited, oh gosh, 14 years for the trial because she was in like a mental institution.
Yeah. So was leading up to that, you knew she had problems or?
Yeah. So Stevie in his teens, I don't know what happened. I can't speak to what happened. He was 7 years older than me, and I was just a kid growing up. But you knew something was wrong with him, and it turned out he ended up with a pretty severe case of schizophrenia. But it was controlled. Like he was on meds. It was controlled. Like he was a nice, quiet, like really generous, sweet guy. But he always said to us, "I'm gonna get killed in Boston. Someone's gonna kill me." And I was like, I can't believe, like, after it happened, I was like, that actually happened to him? How is it? And again, that was a part of the schizophrenia, right? I don't know what brought that on, but my mom really was a really good advocate for him and got him housing and things like that. But he eventually got an apartment and he got into one of these places where they go for like the day to like do tasks and
Oh, yeah.
like do crafts or do artwork, like in alternatives or something like that. And he met his wife there.
Oh.
So
She had problems.
she had
similar.
something. I didn't know what her situation was until I heard about it all at the trial, which is what kind of changed my heart for her, which I never thought would happen.
Mhm.
Yeah. Here's a person I thought I could never forgive, and I wanted her in jail for the rest of her life. And, she ended up getting out not guilty by reason of insanity. So she's out, right? Which was like the worst thing that could have happened to my mother. But during the trial, it was so much of it was just like, I try not to remember. Like I looked up at the screen once and I saw the crime scene and I kept telling myself, don't look up, don't look up. And I did. And I've prayed that the Lord would take that vision from me. And he has really helped me with that because it's something you can't unsee.
Mm-hmm.
But, you sit through hours and hours of autopsy, hearing about every stab wound, every organ that was, severed and just how bad it was. And then you hear about her story. And again, I don't want to hear that. I was like, whatever, I don't want to. But she had a normal life. She was a mom of 3 kids, had a husband, had a house, had a job. And it was after the 3rd kid that something happened to her and she started to get mentally ill. And I was like, I've dealt with postpartum before. So it dawned on me like, it was after that 3rd kid that something happened to her. And my heart kind of it softened a little, and it took a long time for me to eventually be like, Nance, if Stevie was mentally ill and she was mentally ill, like, how can you hold that against her? Yes, we'll never have him back. And I kind of started focusing a lot on heaven, like after he died, like, thank you, God, that he's not schizophrenic anymore. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know what it's like to be schizophrenic, but I imagine like living your life every day thinking someone's going to kill me.
Yeah.
Like he is at peace. And it took me a long time to finally say that to my mother because there was no healing her, and she's still not healed from it.
Do they think because of what he was saying, it's me, that she had an episode where she thought he was someone else?
Yeah, she was non-compliant with her meds, and she was non-compliant with her meds for a long, long time. Because think about it, like when you're mentally ill, like, how you're supposed to remember to take your medicine,
Yeah.
right? So, but she had been non-compliant for 20 years, and it turned out, the state probably should have done more by her.
Hmm.
And so it's very upsetting that the system failed.
Yeah.
Someone should have been, because I guess they can appoint someone to you to make sure you're taking your meds, and they didn't do that with her.
Hmm.
So whatever happened, happened. But again, I mean, I can say that, it's a pain that will never go away. Like, but she was sick. Like, if we all have sin in us, right, naturally, like if
Hmm.
we're all already like deep sinners because of what happened in the garden, and she has that plus
Hmm.
something else going on, like I fight my sin every day. Like so I just can't imagine. I have to give her grace. Like you can't not. Like if I loved Stevie and he was mentally ill, then she deserves the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna, I can't really love on her, but she's still here. And someday I know that she'll have to, meet God and
Did
answer.
do you know, because you were younger, but how did your parents feel about their marriage? I mean, must have been a little
Oh yeah,
controversial, right? Like,
yeah. They
this is
didn't
not a
want her
great,
to.
great
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
Right, right.
How long were they
I was kind of
married? Do you
happy
know?
that he met someone because
Yeah.
you think like, okay, he's never gonna have a family, right?
Yeah.
But when my mother was like, "Oh, Stevie married Sarah," and I told him not to, it wasn't a good idea. My mother knew. She knew right away this isn't good.
Hmm.
And I think it was their 1 year anniversary the night before this whole thing happened because my mother was like, I just talked to him last night. And he was like, Mom, me and Sarah, we're celebrating our 1 year. We had cake, we had watched a movie. So it was only 1 year from the date that my mother said, this isn't going to be
Yeah.
good.
I'm sure she wasn't thinking it was going to turn out like that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, she saw him through all his teenage, because that schizophrenia came on, like, I guess it's prone to come on during the teenage years. And she really struggled with getting him housing. She'd find him a place and then he'd get kicked out. And, because he didn't really get along with people, he was afraid of people. But there's so many things about this story that have been so amazing. And I just think about like how the Lord has tried to heal us. Like, my Reed, my only son, was born the same day Stevie was born.
Mm.
And I remember when I was pregnant with him, I was like, oh gosh, he was supposed to be like March 16th, and he came on Stevie's birthday. And I was like, how is Ma going to feel about this? Like, she's going to be sad because now we have Stevie's birthday the same day we celebrate Reed being born.
Mm.
But there was a reason for that, right?
Mm.
And I don't know, so many wonderful things happened. Like we met people who brought us to the Peace Garden in Boston, and I didn't realize there's a garden there for victims of homicide, and you can put your name on a stone. We put his name on a stone. We went to that, and they have like every year beautiful ceremonies, and you hear the stories. And so the Lord looped us in with these other people that could relate to that and could love on you. And we'd have a place, where we could go, where he would be, memorialized. And in addition to that, like the trial was horrific because she got off, but I remember the judge coming to us after the trial, and he came up to my mother, and, he was very like casual, and we were all just like totally upset. And he said to my mother, this is the kind of thing that will make you do something about this. And we linked up with Ryan Fatman, Senator Ryan Fatman, and he helped us pass a law in Massachusetts in memory of Stevie. And that took a lot of work. That was years and years of work. That people who are not guilty by reason of insanity will have a criminal record, so they can't like work on a school bus, get a job at a nursing home.
Would have thought that was already a law.
No, that law wasn't around because there was a woman, I guess, that killed her 3 kids, and she got out, I think, NGBI, and was like at a hospital greeting people. So just so many things. And like, I think about how the Lord has like really worked to try to heal us through all of these things. And I remembering too, like, my mother, again, she's inconsolable and would probably kill me if she heard me talking to you saying like I have forgiveness in my heart for this woman. But I remember, I think it was like a year after, I can't remember exactly, but she said she wanted to feel some comfort and she wasn't feeling it. And she had the most amazing dream. Stevie came to her and he took her up to heaven, and it was just gorgeous. So it was like, oh, I was so happy she had that dream. Like, now she can be like, I'm coming. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but she needed that visit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great dream.
Yeah.
I know. It's like people will share with me that when they lose someone, they'll appear to them in a dream.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think I've ever had a dream of my mom since she died. And it's like, I always wanted that.
Yeah.
Like, because especially when they die, like, and this is a horrific circumstance, but when they die suddenly, you can't say goodbye. There's no goodbye.
Yeah.
And it's like a dream almost could give you that, like, hey, I love you, goodbye.
I mean, I just can't even like imagine, like, if that were my child, I probably would not have the same even slight sense of grace that I'm able to give her, because I think that's just a different level. It's different to lose a sibling than it is to lose a...
You said it was 14 years till the trial?
Yeah, because she was in mental institutions, and we would go, this is how much vengeance, I mean, we wanted justice too, right? It was a right, it wasn't like, you could call justice, call it vengeance, whatever you want to call it, but we would go to every single one of those hearings to make sure she didn't get out. We were going to be there. We were going to make a victim impact statement. And I remember the one
Was she any different because they were probably forcing her to take meds in those hospitals?
Yeah, she was controlled, absolutely.
And did she express any remorse?
She wasn't there. So these were like kind of hearings at the hospital, and the doctors would speak. And then we maybe could make a statement. And I remember the last one we went to, they were like, oh yeah, she's controlled, everything's great. And she's been taking the bus to Target on day trips. And I was like, this woman is going to Target? Like, all those people in Target, they're going to get hurt. Like, I was so worried about her doing this again, and I still am. I'm still very much concerned. I mean, I hope she's stable for her own sake. But
at that point, though, where you were still pretty angry, right? 'Cause the trial hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking, she's going to Target. Don't let her near anything sharp.
This is just going to like, what's my mother going to, like, what are we going to do? And even to this day, I still have thoughts of like, I know where she lives because her landlord called and said she's raising chaos over there. And I was like, can you please protect the people that live there? That was my first thought. And I do struggle with like, I want to go over there and like spy on her and make sure like she's okay so she's not hurting other people. I don't want to hurt her. But, now I have to worry about like her coming, like, is she going to come here? Like,
yeah, where'd she live?
So it's an apartment in Norton, I guess.
Okay.
And I only, again, know this because the landlord called and said, hey, I saw you on the news, you and your mother. Is this the same person? And I was like, she used a fake name. I'm like, yeah, please keep your people in that building safe. So yeah, it's still an ongoing, very like, but I just think, Nancy, you're not the judge. Like, the Lord is the judge. We're all going to have to, meet the judge someday and answer for what we've done.
What was she like at the trial?
She was not able, she was not, as far as I was concerned, capable of sitting through a trial. And I say that because my mom and I did an interview on Fox News about what was happening, and they tried to get into the trial that day. And they said the defendant cannot tolerate that. She thinks that people are coming through the television at her. So I guess that's why she was not guilty by reason of insanity. I don't think she was really able, but they let her out, and we knew she was going to get out because they couldn't use. And it's just like I have such a heart for people like that are mentally ill. There's not enough care available, and it drives me crazy. And I tell people all the time, like, I don't play the lottery, but if I ever won, I would open like 1,000,000 hospitals, because I guess we had some. I don't know, maybe when I was little there was some around, but they closed them down, budgeting. I don't know. But that would be like the one thing I would do if I had power or prestige or money. I would give people places like to get the care they need. It's so sad because, neither of them did anything to make themselves become ill like that.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
Wow.
So all I think of is I think about the strength and the courage that we had to have, like just massive amounts of that to do what we did. Like to pass that law was a lot of stress. My mother had to speak in front of the House committee. You get 3 minutes. They set a timer. You have to say what you want to say. And I went there with her, and I thought she was going to like have a stroke that day.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe she was, 80.
Yeah.
And she did it. And I just think like, I hope she sees like how strong she's been. Like, oh, she's just an amazing woman. But if I, if I told her I kind of had some forgiveness in my heart for her, it would be not a good conversation. But I just try to, like, we talk about heaven a lot. I think,
Well,
try
one of
to
the
help
things you can talk about is, and I know it may not go anywhere, but like, what's the anger doing? Like, what's it really doing? And I get it, you're angry, and who wouldn't be? But it's only just eating you up. It's changing you. It's making you worse, right? It's
Yeah.
letting it go as much as you're possible able to do it. And I'm sure for you, it's a process. That
Oh, yeah, you still have moments of like, I want to go there and punch her in the face. But
yeah,
I know that, like, what's that going to help, right? It's not going to help me. I've tried to. So it's interesting because my mother was like the main reason why I had a base for religion in my life. My dad was kind of like a non-practicing Catholic, and my mom's father opened the first Protestant church of High Park.
Oh,
And my
really?
mother insisted, Malcolm Bowie, insisted that, like, we went to CCD, we got our confirmations. And I think about how and then my stepfather was too, the gentleman that my mom married. But I'm still trying. I want so desperately to get her back to church because I know she can heal. But she says, I can't handle it. Like, she'll break down. So it makes me sad that her relationship with the Lord is broken because of that. But I have to give that up to the Lord. I can't fix that.
no.
No.
Is she still in Florida?
No, she's here.
Oh, well, you said she was in Florida when it died,
Yeah.
Oh,
She's
okay.
living in
but she moved
Florida,
back up here. But it seems like pretty much her life changed that day. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's did, but
I don't know if she ever went back, but yeah, it was really rough. It's a lot of it's just a big blur. I can't believe it was 22 years ago.
yeah. How did you get the attention of Ryan Fatman?
That really was my mom's charge. I think that he goes to like the local town halls and does things, and I think she must have met up with him and told him the story because she was like, she's gonna get out, and what do I do? And he gave her the petitions, and you wouldn't believe the community that came together on that, like to pass a law in Massachusetts. So we had petitions. You have to have like 3,000 signatures, right? So we would go to like the local sub shop in Douglas. Like we became family with them. They helped us get all those signatures. So many people just rallied and signed, and there was so much love in that. It was wonderful. And I remember the day that they passed it. In fact, I had Reed with me. We were at the State House, and they were like, they gave my mother a parking spot. She was like royalty, like, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna walk you in. We'll meet you there. And Reed was little. I remember he was in the State House with me because I took a picture of he and I with Ryan Fatman in his office. But what a just an amazing accomplishment. And I remember my mother sitting with him when it was passed, and then Ryan put something on Facebook talking about Stevie and how great he was. And yeah, so I just hope that that law really is being used, because I can't find out. I don't have the resources to find out. But it, and again, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it was such a healing. We did something.
Yeah, something good
And
came
we
out
had
of
the
it.
strength and the courage and like the perseverance, which is just what you have to wake up with every day.
You know, I find having a lot of these conversations that people, a big thing, whatever the struggle, is to know something good came out of that. Something rose from the ashes of that. Whether, and it's usually to be a blessing to someone else. So if you lose someone and you've dealt with real serious grief, well, you can help other people who are now dealing with grief in a way that you couldn't before, you know? So it's like, you want to do that because it's at least somebody's help because this happened, because it puts some kind of meaning to it. And even though it's
And
still
it
not
grows
enough.
you. Like it's like you absolutely should give back, and I've received so much. Like, I love these podcasts, and I was like, this has been on my heart for like a year to sit and talk to you
Yeah.
about it, for the giving back and the helping to heal others. But it has worked in me like you wouldn't even believe. Like, my journey is just so different. I look at people like with empathy. I don't judge. You know, I just have a heart for pretty much anyone, because if I can have a heart for her,
Yeah.
right, then
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm very sensitive towards like homelessness and mental health, and that's why like I'd love to be a part of the Worcester. I haven't yet gone into Worcester, and I'll tell you a little bit about that, but one of my brothers dealt with homelessness for a long time, addiction and homelessness. Another brother, I told you I have 5 brothers.
Yeah.
It's been a lot. It's been a great trip though, but we need to help. But the reason why I don't go to Worcester is because I want to help, but I'm so afraid, because I know homelessness can be mental health too.
Usually is, or it's
And
drug.
I keep
and
saying
sometimes
like,
both.
I really want to go, and I love contributing, but I don't know if I'm ready to go yet.
Yeah, that's a scary thing when you know a real story like your
Right,
brother's.
Right.
You know? Was there a moment, was it a process of forgiveness, like through the trial, or do you remember like a tangible moment you're like, I don't want to be angry anymore?
Yeah, it was a trial. It was in the trial.
Do you remember a specific time in the trial, or was it just?
Yeah, no, I can imagine, like, it was literally right when they said it was after her 3rd child that everything went, and she went up and down the East Coast. She was like, her craziness was like everywhere. She was like, I can't even explain it. But I could imagine her in her home with her husband and her 3 kids and being just like me. And then having postpartum, which I had, but clearly only, and I thought mine was bad. I got over it quick.
Yeah, usually
this
some
was-
medication.
To think like, this, and it just hit me like, this happened to her, and I could be wrong. This is just what
Right.
I'm thinking.
Right.
something happened to her after she had her third kid, and she probably didn't get postpartum care maybe that she needed because she had 3 kids, and I only had 1 kid with postpartum, and I was like a mess. So I think it was just that moment. Like I could see her life fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that feel freeing when you were like,
It was slow. Like it was slow. Like that day I was probably like, nope, I'm
Yeah.
not here. Nope, I'm not feeling this. Okay. Like I'm the Grinch and it's still this small. And I think it just my journey and my, being more in the word, being here, like just reading more, learning more about grace and just what sinners we all are and that I am and filthy rags and listen, if I can't forgive my brother, then I might feel that same, like I don't want to not be forgiven because I can't forgive somebody, especially someone who is mentally ill.
yeah.
So it makes me forgive people easier. Like, whatever. You're not physically hurting me. You're, sorry for your sin nature. I got it too, right? So it was slow. It was slow for me to like, and I can't say that I fully am like completely free of, I've given her up to the Lord.
Yeah. Forgiveness, though, I often talk about it with people, especially of that level, and he didn't like step on your toe, she did something they like, oh, if you can't forgive someone from that, you might have an issue. But someone who murdered your brother, or really anything that's of a real life impacting event, sin, it's gonna be a process. There's no way for it not to be. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that God can do anything. So there can be a supernatural, like, done, and it always is. I believe that, but I think for the most part, it's a multiple. I have to keep forgiving. It's more like that,
right?
Yeah, but it's an ongoing forgiveness. So it's not like, oh, I forgave her at that trial and it's done. Because some people struggle with the fact that, I don't know, I thought I forgave her, but I'm angry again today. I guess I didn't. It's like, no, you did. You just need to do it again, right? Because it's the feels, it's the ramifications that come back, and you have to purposely say, I'm forgiving her. And so it's more than once and probably hundreds of times.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, I don't know if it was Pastor Bob, but it's like I remember talking to Pastor Bob about like our heart problems, right? Like our feelings, like our feelings are liars. It's like you go by your feelings. It's, it's not the truth, right? You're not being more like Jesus when all you can think of is how it hurt your heart.
Yeah. No, it's true. But its feelings are still gonna creep up on you.
It's a good thing we have them.
We need them, and they're good.
Yeah.
Usually, but they can't dictate our actions because they're often liars.
Yeah,
right?
I'm learning that. Like
aren't we all
every day.
How do you talk about it with your mom now? Because you can't really admit it. Do you just stay silent if it comes up? I mean, it's been a while, so maybe it doesn't come up.
She doesn't. She doesn't. She's a really like she's very emotional like me, but I'm more of like a casual. Our family's more like a casual. Like I'll say something like, I can't wait like for heaven. I talk about heaven a lot. I think I'm almost heaven obsessed. I read so many books about heaven. I watched all the movies about heaven, and I like your podcast about heaven. Like, do we recognize each other? And I'm like, I think I'm just really heavenly focused, and I'm trying to give that to her, a piece of that.
Did that come out of the situation with your brother, or is it just in general for you?
I think it was more after my dad died. I feel like it's every time someone dies, I get start thinking about it more. Why doesn't the Bible say more about it?
I
Like,
know.
it's gonna be so great. Like, and wouldn't that heal people?
Yeah.
But I know there's certain things we're not supposed to know,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful to wonder about it, but it can give so much healing. But my mother had that dream, and I think it's exactly what she thought. Like, he brought her up and they were flying, and it was all the colors you couldn't even, that you've like never even seen, and brightness. And
Wow.
yeah, I was like, I was kind of jealous that she had that.
Who isn't? Did she call you up the next day when she had it, or
I don't know if she,
because she
if
remembered
it was
every
a
detail?
couple days later or whatever, but it wasn't long after he died that I think she had it.
Mm.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, thank you, God, for giving her that dream. Like, if that was my kid, I would want that dream.
Mm. Did you notice that change her at all? Did it give her a
The
little bit more?
dream, you mean?
Yeah. Did it give her more hope?
She hasn't shared that with me. I
Yeah.
can only hope.
Yeah. But you can usually tell if someone's attitude shifts a little bit anyway, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think she's always family. She can, like, thank God she had 6 other kids, because
Yeah.
she can totally worry about us, and we put her through a lot of worry. So she's not like, I don't think she has a lot of free time. But,
Mhm.
you know, like Reed's birthday just came and went, and I was like, she didn't say anything. She came over for cake, and I let her go home because I'm not going to mention it. I know she wants to go home and like have her time.
Mhm.
And I think the next day I said, so, you know, were you upset when you went home? And I know it's like bittersweet that day. And she's like, yeah. But I think time is just really, it helps.
Mm.
Time is really just, it's not that we get numb to it, but you get used to that reality. I think she's just used to that reality. I think right now she's just starting to wonder, like, okay, when's my time? Because she's 83. So
Yeah.
I'm just like really just trying to keep her happy and healthy. And
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe she'll fly away with them in the rainbow sky. I mean, I want her to stay here for a lot longer too, but I want her to have that more than staying here with me.
Yeah. 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 It's hope is everything, you know,
Yeah.
in this broken world, to have that perspective that these things are very, very temporary. They don't seem it.
So fast. We were just talking about how fast life goes by.
Yeah. Yeah. How about your dad? How did he deal with the death of your son? I mean, your brother. His son.
I don't know. My dad was kind of a stoic dude. Like, he
Mhm.
just got through things.
Yeah.
Not a very verbal person. He was at the service, and I don't even remember the service. Like, I do remember that we
Is it a Catholic mass or?
actually, it was only in the funeral home. It was very small.
Yeah.
Because I think we didn't think people would come because it was Valentine's Day, right? So, but I do remember the song on Eagle's Wings.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to look up, I think it's by Josh Groban, like, you Make Me Fly on Eagle's Wings. That's the song we played at the service. And before I came here, I Googled it because I was trying to hear the song again before I came. And it said Psalm 9 was originally written about flying on eagle's wings. So I have to do a little more research into that. But I wasn't even looking for that, and it just popped up.
Yeah.
But she did feel like my mother picked that song for the service because she knew that he was going to be flying on eagle's wings with the Lord.
Yeah.
So,
And she had that dream. Wow.
yeah.
You didn't think people were going to go on Valentine's Day? What, people do things all day?
Well,
on
it was
Valentine's-
mostly family. We have a big family,
Yeah.
but we had a few close
I
friends
think,
come.
isn't Valentine's Day just pretty much for high school and college kids?
I don't even know. I eat candy. All I care about is eating candy.
It's just, yeah, I wouldn't even be like, hey, man, can't go to the funeral. It's Valentine's Day.
I know. They're probably like, these poor people. And
But you also said it was a bad snowstorm.
it
Man.
was horrible. I was like, how are we digging in the ground? But anyway, we just did it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I have such a heart for people that struggle with anything emotional, whether it's postpartum or I wish I could do more, and I'm just waiting for the Lord to kind of talk to me about that.
What are some things people did for you and your family that were helpful during that time? I know it's a while ago, but
Yeah, I mean, I think just signing that petition.
mm,
Yeah. Oh, and my mother hooked up with a group of people. Well, like they're the victims of homicide. Like
yeah.
there's groups everywhere. Come to find out, there's one in Fairhaven, and we would go to that once a year, and they would have a beautiful ceremony with the pictures and candlelight. And my mother people would speak, and it was in a beautiful church in Fairhaven. And so she met that. We just met so many loving people. Like it expanded our universe. Like,
It's a weird.
yeah.
It's weird how places will find community and you don't expect it. I wouldn't have thought
Yeah.
there'd be a community of people who lost someone through homicide.
I even met a girl. I remember I was working in Westboro, and I was telling her about the Peace Garden, and it's right up by Faneuil Hall. Just walk up the steps to City Hall, and it's right there. And I was talking about it at work, and she's like, "Really? My cousin was a victim of homicide." So she put her cousin's name in that Peace Garden in Boston. So imagine how that ripple effect was. Like her whole family found out about that and had another healing place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just ripples out. It's amazing.
Well, there's also something really, really, I don't know, really nice to connect with people who really understand. Obviously, situations are all over the map, but like anything else, you can empathize with someone, but when you go through it, you can really empathize with them.
Yeah.
You're juggling with loss of someone I love, so that's already horrible, no matter what it is. Cancer, heart attack, whatever, some sickness. But now you add the fact that somebody took their life, that it shouldn't have been. And
I mean, I think death is death no matter, every death is tragic. Even if you live until you're
yeah, but it's
90, your family's like, you're traumatized by every death. And
yeah,
it's
but you can't
wait, no,
blame.
what? Not yet. You
Yeah.
could be 95 and you'd be like,
But the
no.
homicide gives you someone to blame, which adds a layer to it. Like with
Yeah.
the struggle that your mom had and the struggle you had, you're just like, I can't, like when you when you lost your dad, that's grief and that's really hard. But you don't have anyone to blame.
Anger, yeah.
And I guess that's why people will blame God, because they don't know who else to blame when it comes to death.
Why were they sick?
But when
Why-
somebody
yeah.
takes a life and it's too short, shouldn't have happened, it's hard. You're processing grief and
Yeah, because
anger.
isn't anger like the first step in grief? Is it anger, acceptance? No, it's denial, anger, and acceptance. So you're right. Like it can keep you in that middle phase.
You never get through grief. But you never get to a place of healing. It's a danger because you're just so angry.
No justice. It's the justice thing. And I think like if you were to sit with my mom, she would just say, I have no justice.
Yeah.
And the way I look at it is he is not mentally ill anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. But you always want, and you, I think, pretty sure said this when we kind of off the top, justice is in the hands of God.
Yep.
And whatever God, whatever God decides to do, it's up to him. And that's hard because it's like, yeah, but that's my son. And it's like, it is, or my brother, or my, but we're also not God, we don't know all the details. We don't know what is deserved, what's over justice. Like now it's vengeance. That's not good. And
I
what
do
is
think
true.
about that too, because I think like when she does have to answer and when she does meet the Lord after she passes away, is she going to be in heaven with me? And then I'm like, Nance, there's no anger or evil or anything. So if she's there, stop. Like I have to say, Lord, make me stop thinking about this, because I fall back into that vengeance thing. Like, do I have to share heaven with her too? Like I already forgot.
As long as they hide the knives, right? The angels will keep an eye on all the
just
silverware.
don't come near me. Like, don't let me recognize you.
That's I guess I've I've certainly thought about some of those things. You probably more so because you're so fixated on heaven. But I'm not sure. I don't remember thinking that. Like, oh, you know what? Why I haven't thought this way is there's people that annoy me in life, or people I don't particularly like to be around, but I don't have, and I hope I never do, but a person like that who I can look and say, you took so much from me. I don't, right? So it's like, if I'm in heaven with that person, what, like,
Well, that when you did that podcast about we recognize each other,
oh yeah,
and I think like,
or ask, right? Was that still ask? Yeah.
I was all about that because I was like, oh, we're going to recognize each other, and they're going to be animals, which we need to talk about because you say no dogs in heaven. I thought you said no dogs in heaven, but
No, I said there's going to be animals,
no,
probably not your pet,
okay.
but it could be. God
Okay.
could make anything happen, so I'm not going to rule it out.
Yeah, but I remember like thinking when you said like, I can't remember if you could refresh me on that because I've been thinking about that a lot. About
Yeah.
to what sense do we recognize each other? Will it just be like I have a feeling of love and I recognize you, or like, hey mom, like that? Because we have different bodies, right?
Yeah, our only real,
Better bodies, I hope.
we only have a couple of biblical insights into that. The most obvious one is Jesus himself, because Jesus was seen as his resurrected body, and obviously there was differences to it, and he even at one point wasn't recognized, but I think that was on purpose, the road to Emmaus. But the rest of his disciples recognized him. He obviously was a new body, but they recognized him. They touched his hand and feet. They loved him. They worshiped him. You could say, well, we have Moses and Elijah at the Mount of Transfiguration. That's before the resurrected body, of course. It hasn't happened yet. But clearly they were recognized not just by Jesus, but by Peter and by John and James. And so, and I think most things point to we will. There's no tears in heaven. There's no suffering. I think the biggest thing, and this is just my 2 cents, 1 cent maybe. I think the biggest thing we have is perspective that we can't have here.
Right.
Our perspective is warped by the brokenness of this world, our sinful flesh, all around us and in us. In heaven, it's gone. You're free from it completely. And so
It's mind blowing.
So the perspective you actually have, which is a beautiful perspective of she's mentally ill. I don't want to hold this against her. Like, that's true and right. In heaven, you're going to have
A deeper.
even so deeper. So you're just going to be like, of course I'm not holding this against her. Like, because maybe you're going to see like all that you were forgiven from by God, even more than now. And it's pretty profound what you have even now. So I think that, and it's not just obviously people like situations like that, but it's like perspective of our past and our hurts. Do we completely forget them? I don't, probably not. I think we just have perspective, and they're put into the perspective of eternity, and you're like, so what?
Yeah. Move it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I think, but well, I know it's going to be awesome.
Right. I'm not going to worry if I recognize her. I'll be loving on her. We'll all be loving on each other. It'll just be.
Yeah, I think if the real question is, does she know the Lord Jesus? Does she know him?
Yeah, I know my brother did.
Yeah.
I know my brother did because I wasn't saved when I remember going to his apartment in Jamaica Plain. He was wicked into like playing guitar, and he always had his Bible open. So that was another thing. Like, I knew he was a believer.
Yeah.
Which, like, that had to just happen to him because we didn't go to church a lot. So
Well, yeah. With such
he had
struggle.
a foundation.
Yeah.
And enough to open a Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I was like, no, like, what's that here for? That I wasn't even close to that path for my life yet. He was there. So I do think about that a lot. He definitely did. Because the devil's like, no, he didn't. And I'm like, yes, he did. I saw his Bible in his apartment.
Yeah. Yeah, because when we talk about justice, people say, oh, there's no justice. There's always going to be justice. And God pours out the perfect amount of punishment that is deserved. And so the question is, did the justice for me, is that going to come on me, or did that go on Jesus at the cross? That's your only choice.
Right.
You go, oh, God will just accept me. No, that would be no justice. How your mom feels, that's how it would be unloving for God to allow people to just not pay for their sins. So because he loves us, he sent Jesus to pay for them because they have to be paid for. Otherwise, he's not just and he wouldn't be God. And so he is just. So he doesn't punish sins twice. That's unjust. So Jesus or me?
Right.
I trust in Jesus. And that's the gospel right there.
So it might be a moot point if she's not a believer.
If she's not a believer, you won't see her there.
And you had said, I think you had said last Sunday that, and I could be wrong because I have a bad memory, but I thought I remembered somebody saying, it's not like you die and you get a last chance at that last minute. Did you mention that at service list? Oh, I listened to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, you probably listened to someone else.
I listened to Truth for Life. I love that podcast.
Yeah, I was talking about burnout, so it didn't really come up like that.
Oh. Anyway.
Yeah, you.
I love thinking about heaven anyway. I just love it. Like, it gives me such peace.
Yeah, I wish I thought about it more.
Well, you're busy.
No, I think my problem, the way my mind works, is exactly what you said. We don't have a ton of information, so you just end up. And then there's just so many people who believe so many things that are just.
Yeah, they must ask you at funerals all the time. Don't you get to ask that question?
I don't.
Wow.
I mean, not
because
never.
they're in that rough phase at that time, right?
Yeah,
Wow, I would think people would.
I do way more
constantly.
Funerals of non-church people. So I don't want to necessarily call them unbelievers because sometimes I think they are, but they're just, or I'm not sure, or I am sure they clearly weren't, but though they just believe in and you could tell they don't even really believe it. You know, it's like, oh, they're somewhere in peace riding their motorcycle.
Or they're reincarnated like they're a red cardinal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believed in reincarnation once before I really was like an unbeliever.
Oh, thank God that's not the case. I don't want to do this again. No.
I mean, I would love to be a mermaid, and I'm just like,
a mermaid?
That's not what's going to happen. Like,
When,
or a dolphin.
When you be,
fun.
Yeah, do mermaids exist?
Well, if they did, I'd ask to be one.
Maybe you'd be the first one.
I just like to swim.
I like to swim. Yeah, not in the depths of the ocean, thanks. I like to swim, but where there's no creatures that could eat me. Thanks anyway.
I think if you're a mermaid, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, probably not. But who knows? You probably do, right? I mean, everybody's got dangers. Mermaids.
Yeah, as long as I hope there's swimming in heaven. Anyway, I could go on.
That's another question. Heaven. Yeah, there's no sea.
Say that.
So some say.
Can I at least have a bathtub?
They take that super. I hope you get a bathtub.
That's right. I hope they do.
They take it literally. That verse, but it's the seas in the Bible often are symbolic, and they're symbolically used for chaos and wrong, because that's how, especially back then, people did not look at the sea as a comfort. It was scary, right? So not just because of sharks or anything, because of shipwrecks. I mean, people shipwrecked all the time, and that's how they So it was very, and you have of course Noah's Ark and all that. So the symbolic nature of that verse is that there's going to be no more chaos and no more uncertainty.
What about a river?
Yeah, there's rivers coming out of the temple, right, in Ezekiel. So
okay, I'm gonna read that again.
Yeah, no, I think the new heaven, new earth, it's gonna be a lot like Eden, probably. I think it's gonna be a lot like our world. It's just no suffering and no pain, I think will even work, because work is good.
It is good.
And I was talking about this with Kelly Trottier the other day, a couple weeks ago, and I said it's hard for me to imagine not having. There's got to be some type of challenge, because it's like we're human. Like we need to. We're not
bored?
just.
I don't know.
Yeah, we won't be. So maybe it's just because we're still learning of the depths of God that it's just, you don't need that. But it's like, it feels like there's still going to be things you got to kind of fight towards. They're just not going to be
Right.
painful and failure. And
Right. And we can't just sing to the Lord all. Well, I guess
No.
we could keep ourselves occupied that
No,
way too. I'd be happy singing all day long.
yeah, maybe. I don't think that would be. I don't think God wants to put himself through that.
And we can't be guardian angels because there's no such thing, right?
No. Well, there might be, but they're not people. So
That would be fun.
there is theories that there is a guardian angel for all of us. It's not necessarily biblical, but it's there's some that see.
I know
some things.
some things helped me, whether it was the Holy Spirit, from making so many mistakes at work. Like,
Angels
okay,
exist.
Thanks, whoever did that and whoever made that not happen. Today
Angels,
at work.
absolutely, that's biblical. It's a question of you have a specific one.
Right.
It's just kind of wander around going. I mean, you probably have a team of angels.
Yay. I need a team.
Yeah, but they're not people. They're a separate created beings. So we're
We
not.
can't become one.
You don't. I always say like, oh, they're watching over me. Like, I don't think so. Like, that would just cause pain.
Right.
To be up in heaven going, oh, Shamey, are you kidding me?
I mean, the Holy Spirit's what really, I haven't really over the last few years thought too much about the Holy Spirit, but I'm getting more in tune with the Holy Spirit and just how so many times, like, and that's the Holy Spirit's what strengthens us, right? Like, just
Fills us,
guides us,
strengthens us,
just
yeah.
constantly, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, here's another car accident. I mean, yes, I'm a good driver, but I don't know, just so many things. And I'm like, the Holy Spirit, like, is just working, like, constantly. It blows my mind. And the
Yeah.
decisions I make.
Yeah.
But again, you do have to be still and you do have to listen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
getting better at that too.
Well, that's a process. Well, I hope that, I guess my hope from this episode is that if people can see your journey of freedom and forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yes, if it's a pretty unique situation. Most people, thank God, don't have really close family members who have been killed.
Well, car accidents.
Yeah, but I mean, stabbed to death, like
Right,
something like that, shot, stabbed, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's like you said, it's like a movie, But if they do, you're certainly someone to talk to. But even if they're just like, man, I just can't, I will not forgive that person. That you might be someone they can come to and say, how did you do it? And not that you have some secret answer, but you have an insight in the process of that, but in the perspective, but also the results. You're just way better off. Like, oh, I don't need to be God. I don't know why that happened. I don't know what is all that's going to come from it, but I got to let it go.
Yeah, and I think you always say, like, look up from your box of problems and see what you can do for others. And I think, we did that in this journey by trying to get that law changed and just, yeah.
Hopefully we don't have children murderers greeting us in hospitals. It's like, wow.
And again, that woman was probably also postpartum.
Yeah, probably. Well, regardless, postpartum or whatever mental breakdown, that's not a normal thing.
Get them care.
Yeah.
Get them care. Open some hospitals. Do something.
Yeah.
I mean, even like the homelessness. Like, I remember when my other brother, like Pine Street Inn in Boston, it's like the only place you can go. And like you have to get in line at 2 p.m. to get to bed. And if you don't get a bed, there's just not enough
Yeah.
of us caring for each other. We need to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good reminder. It really is. Well, I appreciate you being willing to share the story. I know it's been a number of years, but that's a hard thing. And God's really,
I'm glad
really
we
used
did
it.
this, because if I can slowly work towards forgiving her, I mean, I was all vengeance straight out. Like, yeah, it took a long time, but it happens.
Yeah.
You can do it. You can do it with the Lord's help.
Yeah. And it really came down to perspective for you. Because we can tend to demonize and make people like a bad movie just a caricature. Just you are the evil person. And that's rarely the case. There's maybe some serial killers out there that are just completely filled with evil, but most people are much more dynamic than that.
Right.
And like they said, don't judge anyone on their worst day. That's obviously her worst day, I hope.
And I tell you, if there's another thing like I could say is just like, ever since this happened, like I don't watch movies with knives or violence.
I don't blame you.
Because I get so upset with my boys because they love all that stuff. I'm like, goodbye, I'm in the other room. But to me, that just, it puts it in your mind, and it almost, it normalizes. And I will never become normalized to that.
I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine you would. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you got,
But
even
that's good. It's
if,
keeping those
Yeah,
nasty movies out of my.
and it's for you, it's like, you don't need that kind of dark reminder. It's,
Oh, I don't. Yeah.
and I think we all need to know what we need to stay away from that both can cause us to sin, but also the things that can just cause us to go spiral.
They can.
And some people probably can watch that and they're not going to go out and stab anybody.
I don't know.
And neither are you, but it's going to put you right back there. And it's going to maybe see those visions again from the trial. And you just don't need that.
No way.
So do what's healthy and right and stay away from it.
Oh, my family knows. I'm like, get that knife away from me.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. But it's, and again, now it just makes me more cautious for, about how dangerous things in the kitchen could be, and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. Perspective, like you said.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on and
Thanks for
telling
chatting.
your story. Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
And cut.
Cut.